And so I would just want to toe that line in this month, and just some of those parables I'll be sharing are actually like mimicking themselves, but all the same, sometimes when you keep repeating the same things, it gets to stick better. So that's what we'll be doing in this month. And this is more like me trying to introduce exactly what parables are. And I'm going to try to go with some of the definitions I have around. Let's see. Parables, just general dictionary said, is a simple story used to illustrate a moral or spiritual lesson, and as told by Jesus in the Gospels. So that's the definition from the Oxford Languages Dictionary, just to let us see it in that light. But I want to pick on exactly what the way Wikipedia puts it is actually quite very, very self-explanatory. And this is where it puts it. It says a parable is a shocking didactic story in prose or verse that illustrates one or more instructive lessons or principles. It differs from a fable in that fables employ animals, plants, inanimate objects, or forces of nature as characters, whereas parables have human characters. So, the difference between fables and all of those other things is the fact that they use more like animals, like, oh, the tortoise did this and all of those kind of stuff to express their story. But Jesus, whenever he was teaching, he was always using humans, to express exactly what he was trying to say. So in this month, like I said earlier, we'll try to look at some of those parables. But I want to look at scriptures to help us have a clear understanding of what Jesus was trying to do. In the book of Psalms, Psalm 78, Psalms chapter 78, verse 2, or I'll just read from verse 1. I'm reading from the New International Version. It said, "My people hear my teaching. Listen to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth with a parable. I will utter hidden things, things from of old, things we have heard and known, things our ancestors have told us. We will not hide them from their descendants. We will tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord, his power, and the wonders he has done." You see, one of the things that the psalmist, this was Asaph, this is a psalm of Asaph, was trying to express is the fact that, our stories are actually one of the greatest way to teach. I remember, those days while we're learning it, what we're told is, you want to start speaking. One of the best way to do that is to start with a story, because one of the things a story does is to get the attention of the person you are trying to express it to. So this must be one of the reasons why Jesus, used stories a lot of times, used parables, so to say, a lot of times to try to express exactly what he was trying to pass across. Now, what is the intention of this particular video? Is to let you know that there are things, and if you have been following me, you will know that there are some deeper things I try to help us understand. When we look at parables in the light of the way this psalmist put it, if we go to look at the parables of Jesus, and then if you are someone who is familiar with this way Paul put down the scriptures, you know that some things are very, very essential. Is the fact that when Paul is writing, he's writing like someone who has an understanding of the stories Jesus was telling and trying to give the underlying details of exactly what he was trying to pass across. So what I'm trusting God to do with most of these parables is not just to directly read them out and just say them to us, is to be able to, by the grace of God, give us underlying details of what I believe Jesus was saying, and also to help us realize that there are a lot of those things that apply to us today in our day-to-day lives as Christians. Because when we have a clear understanding of what Jesus wants us to do, it helps us to be able to live our lives right and to be able to do things the proper way. And I would just want to back this up with some things that happen. In the book of Matthew, you have the story in the book of Matthew, Matthew chapter 13, from verse 10 to verse 17. But I'm just going to take a few verses there. This is Jesus when he was speaking to the disciples from Matthew chapter 13. He started by telling them this. I already told us parables are stories about humans. He told them the parable of the sower who went out and sowed and all of those stuff. We're going to get to the story. That's going to be the second parable we are taking. And so he was telling them all of these stories, and then he got to verse 10. Verse 9, he said, whoever hears, let them hear. And so I'm wondering, so these are the disciples who were asking. This is someone who said, the disciples came to him, this is verse 10, came to him and asked, why do you speak to people in parables? So let's already get it. He's trying to get the attention of the people with the stories he was telling. And that's why he spoke with parables. We already realized that. And so one of the things he was doing at this particular time was also trying to share something to the disciples. But they don't get it. Why don't you just tell us exactly what you want to say and don't just even bring up all of these stories? But Jesus wanted them to realize some things. Just follow me the story, what I'm trying to say here. Then they asked him, why do you speak to people in parables? Look at what he replied them in verse 11. He replied, because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them. So, this is it. It's like, look, there are a lot of things you understand about the kingdom of heaven. There are secrets about the kingdom of heaven, which is, there is nothing any Christian wants more than, look, I want to go to heaven. I want to do this. Whatever we are doing here, the first thing we are thinking about is, I want to go to heaven, which is great. But Jesus is trying to help us realize here. He's trying to disciples realize, and us, so that, look, I have revealed things to you. There are things, the Bible said the secrets of the Lord are with the righteous. So now you have come to know me, and my secrets are with you. But it's not everyone who understands these secrets. And so because they do not understand, I need to try to get to their level to help them to realize. So I'm trying to drive us to understand the reason why Jesus took so much time to help people understand the scriptures. And then in verse 11, he said, look, whoever, now in that verse 11, he said, because they do not have the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom. There are a lot of revelation. You see, let me tell us one thing. Even though, as a person, I read the Bible. I have read the Bible a couple of times. I'm still reading the Bible. And one of the things I want to do is to always teach the Bible, because it's one of the greatest, as far as I'm concerned, it's the greatest book that exists in the world to be able to teach human the basics of life. So if you look at the Bible like that, so like you want to learn about the basics of life, you want to have a productive life, one of the best books you can read in the world is the Bible. And when you read the Bible, it's not just reading it, getting the understanding. I'll take us to something Jesus said. In verse 13 of that Matthew chapter 13, he said, this is why I speak to them. He's going to explain further why he speaks in parables. He said, this is why I speak to them in parables. Though seeing, they do not see. Though hearing, they do not hear or understand. So, people hear Jesus, they see him, but they don't get it. There are a lot of things about, it's one thing for you to see something. It's one thing for you to hear it. It's one thing for you to perceive it. But it's another level for you to understand. Verse 14, it said, this was said by the prophet Isaiah, you will be ever hearing, but never understanding. You will be ever seeing, but never perceiving. For these people's heart has become callous. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I will heal them. 3 things. The reason why I'm speaking in parables is because I want them to see. I want them to hear. I want them to understand. Because when these 3 things happen, their mind will be where it's supposed to be, and then I can perfect my healing work. So most times when God wants to work, he needs human input. And the way he needs human input is to be able to get us to where he is standing, understanding, get us to where we understand. We can get exactly what he was trying to say. It's not just, sometimes I can say, oh, I've read this Bible like 100 times. Yes, that could happen. But you know, the Bible said the secret things belong unto God, but those that he has revealed are unto us and our children's children. That's Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 29. So the essence of parables, or the essence of Jesus trying to bring out the mind of God, trying to help people realize what God was saying, is the fact that their eyes need to be open. And this is not these physical eyes. We see with these physical eyes, but there is another inner man, inner eyes that needs to see. We need to see the revelations of the kingdom. And that's what Paul was talking about in Ephesians chapter 1, when he said the riches of his glory, that it will cause you to see the revelation. And you will see with the eyes of the revelation. So when you go to that Ephesians, Paul was talking about eyes of, seeing with the inner, like your inner eyes. You're seeing revelations. You have clear understanding. Then it gives you details about the things God wants to accomplish, not just in your life, but most especially through you to others. Because one of the things that we need to realize in our Christian walk is that whatever God is doing in your life, it's not necessarily because of you, it's because of Him. It's because of what He wants to accomplish through you to others. Are you going through pain? He's trying to use the pain to glorify Himself. Are you going through prosperity? He's trying to use the prosperity to magnify His word. Are you going through success? He's trying to use the success. Everything that is happening part time is for Him to glorify Himself, because that's why we are here. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 says so, verse 13. That the duty of man is that we might fear Him and keep His commandment. That's all He wants from us. Because through all of these things, when we get the understanding of His principles, when we get the understanding of how He wants our life to function, how He wants our life to be shaped, it helps us to be able to fit into His purpose, because He is not going to fit into our understanding. We are going to fit into the design that He already has. But sometimes it's just like the way we are trying to run our lives is we are trying to drag God to walk in the way we are thinking. No, God doesn't work like that. He already has principles laid down in scriptures and everywhere around, laid down even in nature, for us to be able to understand how He works. But most times we want God to come and walk in the way we are thinking. It doesn't function like that. So the way we and God can work together is when we get an understanding of His mind, what He's trying to say to us, and release our heart to be able to fall into His plan and His purpose, and then we can then be flexible, or we can then fit into His purpose at that time and accomplish what He wants to accomplish. And the long run is this: when we allow ourselves to fit into His purpose, what happens? He glorifies Himself through us, and we are glorified. This is the thing. It doesn't just leave you high and dry. No, His intention is to reward you. He rewards you for allowing Him to make you His vessel. Because God is not functioning physically on earth. That's why He's working through you. So the way God functions is through you physically. And when He's functioning through you, before He can function through you, He needs you to be in the right place. He needs your mind to be in the right place. He needs your mindset. So that's why Jesus was talking about people can hear, people can see, but they don't get it. So, but if you allow yourself to be submitted to His counsel, and you allow your spirit man to be open, He takes charge. He releases His word through you, and then you come to be an instrument. There are a lot of prophets and people that God used in the Bible. All they did was to submit themselves. Look at Jonah, for example. Jonah knew exactly what God wanted to do, but he went in the opposite direction, like me and you would do most times. And God was like, hey, if you still want this, I need you to get back to where you need to be. And he did. What did he do? He went back to exactly where God wanted him to be and began to function properly for the glory of God. So, every of these parables that Jesus said was to help us open our eyes. That's the first thing. Open our ears. Remember, it's not this physical eyes, it's not this physical ear. Open our heart, the subconscious, so that at the end of the day, God can heal us. And when we are healed, the healing transfers to others. Because the point is this: when you are healed. It's just like Jesus will say, hey, don't tell anybody. But people will always go and tell. Why? Because it's not something you can hide. When God releases his grace into you, it causes things to manifest in your life. It causes his word to be, it causes his word to come to pass, and things and great things will happen for us. So I want to encourage you today. So I want to encourage you today to open your heart when you are studying scriptures, because the intention of this study is so that you can fulfill and function in God's kingdom. May you be blessed continually as you open your heart. So I want to conclude on this note. This is it. There's this book, Stories That Stick, by Kindra Hall. And I want to say, she was just coming from the angle of business. Like every business is trying to tell a story. Like just mention the business. You want to talk about Apple? Apple is like, you go back to the story of the man who founded it, Steve Jobs. You love those kind of stories of success, stories of triumph, stories of victories. That's how everybody is. So all of these things is what drives the world. When anything tells a story, everybody gets interested in them. So I want to challenge you today. Jesus spoke in parables. What was his intention? His intention is to help you and me to also continue to tell these stories. Your life is supposed to be a story. Your business is supposed to be a story. Everything around you is supposed to tell stories. And so, be encouraged today. Try to say, Lord, open my eyes. I want to see. Open my ears. I want to hear. Help my subconscious to be released to you. I want to understand so that I can be healed, so that I can fit in, so that I can fulfill purpose, so that your name can be glorified. So be encouraged today, and the Lord will bless you. There is so much that Jesus is trying to say to the world through your story, if you allow him. The Lord bless you.